17th, 6 p.m. here in Los Angeles. Welcome to Tech Talk Live. I'm Jack Armstrong.
And 9 p.m. in the DMV. I'm Sam Giacinto, and again, lots to talk about this week. Give us a call at 213-679-4599 or message us on Twitter/X at tech_talk_live. Before we get started, Tech Talk Live loves Before Sunset AI. Before Sunset AI is your productivity superhero. You can conquer your conquests, have AI take care of all the logistics, and use code Tech Talk Live, initial caps, for 3 months free. Give it a shot and conquer whatever you're up to.
Absolutely. So, lots to talk about. We've got some interesting news out of WWDC with some. Should we talk about these hidden gems?
Yeah, so we're a little late to the party on WWDC. Happened last week, and there were a few things that may have been overlooked that we could just, knock off real quick. A few, things that you might have missed, perhaps.
Hopefully.
Just going through. I mean, again, everybody has their opinions on, how liquid glass looks and the iPad changes and all of that. You know, Everything's still in beta, so the appearance and functionality is still subject to a lot of change. So we'll have to see how that works out. But for a few changes that perhaps went under the radar, um, that were kind of mentioned in a sentence and no more. The Journal app is coming to iPad and Mac. So a favorite on your iPhone for perhaps noting your thoughts or having an AI prompt associated with photos and whatnot, is now going to be cross-platform, which, again, great change. Um, you know, this is bringing journaling to both the iPad and Mac, and it's surprisingly allowing access to the AI-based journaling suggestions to third-party apps. So this is kind of maybe a consolation prize for the antitrust Apple has been involved in, an olive branch to existing apps, but third parties can access journaling suggestions as part of Apple Intelligence. So a cool change there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it'll be interesting. It's also worth noting the full end-to-end encryption and backups and syncing across iCloud. So obviously, when journaling goes digital, I think, if you prefer to do that and you like that on your iPhone, yeah, now you'll have more options on your iPad and your Mac. So nice
Well,
little touch there that might have been overlooked.
better than sharing it all with ChatGPT, right? So, I mean, honestly, if you care about data privacy, there's at least some sort of integration with iCloud's end-to-end encryption. Always a good
Yeah,
thing. The Photos
absolutely.
app we have to talk about returns to a tabbed layout. So a huge part of iOS 18 was the photo apps redesign. Universally loved or loathed, you've probably heard about this somewhere around the internet. We're getting tabs back toward the bottom of the screen in a traditional layout, which I think a lot of people will kind of enjoy. So we'll have a hybrid interface for that. Personally, it's probably a great thing. Um, it's honestly, like, Apple's kind of really messed around with the design of the Photos app, perhaps went too far in the early betas and dialed it back in the final release. Um, so hopefully this will kind of revert what a lot of people have received as a controversial design change.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
No, it's nice to see. Yeah, it's interesting because, yeah, now we have these. tabs at the bottom. I mean, I feel like for people that like keeping their photo collections, or they're very big into creating folders and different galleries for different events or things they do, I think it could be a nice little change there. Also, we now have call notifications on the Apple TV, so nice little touch there as well. So Apple TV is also getting some of that treatment we see here in the new tvOS 26. So we're going to see, you get a call, you can pick it up on your Apple TV by pressing the TV button to answer. So you'll see a notification, and you can answer that call by pressing the home button. And right now, this is not rerouting the call audio from your iPhone, but ideally that will change when it actually gets released. So that'll be interesting to see. So yeah, now you can take calls on your Apple TV just like you can on your iPad and your Mac. So kind of honestly a long awaited change, but I guess it's a nice to have. But again, this is the Apple ecosystem at work.
Oh, and excellent point, right? Because you may be on your TV, it may be something you enjoy. Quick note: this won't be on by default. You'll find it in phone calls on other devices where you'll be able to enable that if you so please. Kind of on that note too, spam call reporting. It's long kind of been a feature to delete and report junk for text messages, and the same is sort of coming to spam phone calls in a similar way. Um, so it's only available for voicemails, and essentially we'll send the voicemail to Apple to essentially help train its call screening, presumably. Um, so you can basically report a voicemail or delete it at the same time. So report and delete. Um, so you can still block calls that do not leave a voicemail, but you cannot report them in a similar fashion. So just kind of a, um, you know,
It's
it's the
good
way
to note
Apple
there.
will force you to use their new feature, for better or
Well, and
worse.
also it's interesting. Hopefully, they share these lists with the carriers, because also the carriers have a large responsibility in keeping the actual spam callers out of the phone systems to begin with. So it'd be interesting to see kind of a universal system here. But yeah, no, great changes to see the ability now to report spam, and hopefully that leads to more down the road to reduce the spam calls that we all get. In other news, we also have widgets in CarPlay. So interesting to see this. CarPlay is extremely popular, and now we're using the widgets for that. So if you're unfamiliar, you can in standby mode keep customize your screen. So essentially, if you want to have the temperature, weather, change the clock style, you can also do that, and yeah, have different widgets. So pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and kind of going more or less back into AI land, we have more expressive image generation. So for Apple Intelligence, you will be able to add emotion when creating genmojis of people. So you can make them laugh, happy, angry, sad, shocked, thinking, thumbs up and thumbs down. So if you are still using Image Playground, a little goodie for you there. Um,
Yeah,
Probably
this
just
is
the exciting as the next nugget, to be honest. But I don't. Do you
yeah.
use Image Playground?
I was
Uh,
just gonna say this is definitely an interesting one. I mean, it's I don't want to say gimmicky. I mean, it's definitely another way to express yourself. Personally, I don't know. I mean, I don't really see myself utilizing this, regularly doing it. I don't see myself, desiring to create Genmoji characters, icons to express things. I think again, it's kind of like we've seen stickers. I know, that's another thing of the little animations and the text. I guess it's cool to have this, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how long it takes for this to be mainstream and if it ever becomes mainstream. I think why Apple's doing this, my personal take would be Apple sees VR and AR as coming soon. So they need to give, maybe us more ways to express ourselves in terms of when that becomes a reality, because if you're wearing a headset or you're wearing glasses and it's tracking your expression, it's also not getting a frontal view like you're holding up your phone on FaceTime. So are we just in the future going to be looking at people's Genmoji characters? I don't know, maybe, but it's it's an interesting twist between like an avatar and an emoji, and then the ability to customize it, but also to me it takes me a little while to grow onto these things, so this is not immediately impressing me, but yeah, interesting.
Well,
I don't
I
really
don't
use
think
it.
that's you either. And kind of on that note, I mean, I think a feature I saw at one point, but haven't really seen any development on since, was, I don't know if it was a startup or somebody where it, there's an AI based plugin, and all it did essentially was make it seem like you're making eye contact with the camera, and therefore eye contact with the person on the other side of the screen. I mean, you'll see, like, I'm looking down because that's where my picture is on the screen. You're looking at the video call and not directly at your camera. So I think that was a very subtle tweak that didn't turn you into this avatar, but essentially in, human context, a lot of, emotions and micro expressions are conveyed in eye contact. And I think having that, at least in some ways, replicated, could be a
Mhm.
big, a big powerful thing for virtual meetings. But instead we get Genmoji. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, it's interesting. I
so
don't know. I mean, it's
one,
another way.
you know, you get what you
One
get.
thing. Absolutely. So also aerial screensavers are now on Apple TV. So we've had this, but now we see that they are going to add some content more regularly, it seems like. So they're no longer going to be using TV and movies as a screensaver option. They did announce that last year during WWDC, but apparently now they are returning with updates to the screensavers, so giving you more customizability and hoping that now there's more aerial options in the rotation. And yeah, these are downloadable and updatable, I guess, if that makes sense. So there will be more options over what aerial screensavers you choose to have on your TV. Pretty cool.
Well, no, yeah, a collection of nuggets from WWDC. Obviously, we'll be covering perhaps a little bit more as the betas and next betas get released. Small kind of related tidbit to WWDC, we have to talk about the Intel based Mac. This will be
Yeah.
the last update before the Intel based Mac goes the way of the Dodo, which is fair
Yeah.
because it was
Yes.
6 years old at this point. 2019. And let's be completely honest, the i9 2019 MacBook was garbage. I mean, it was honestly the probably one of the worst MacBooks in recent memory.
Mhm.
By that point, we'd fixed the keyboard failure, which is great, but instead we got a really hot, very thermally underspec'd computer that you would essentially need to place inside a freezer to get the most performance out of. So I don't think anybody is really going to miss it. Um, you know, not exactly the um yeah, I mean not
Yeah.
exactly the best product from Apple. So
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any
Well,
more
I
to say on that.
mean, it's also worth. I mean, it's worth noting. I mean, Intel's had its way of the past, right? I mean, I think now Apple Silicon has really dominated, but also for good reason. It's a lot more powerful and energy efficient, and I think it just works better um, for the chips in these Macs. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but I mean I think in tech, we see we've talked about it with the Pixel phones and iOS updates, but I think 7 years is about the sweet spot for if you've got a device older than 7 years, you're probably not looking at new updates. So less than 7 years updates. A little bit older than that, you probably aren't going to be getting new OS updates, software updates. So it is worth it, for better or worse. I mean, it's if you want the latest and greatest and you want the best security, you probably need a device that's 7 years or newer.
Well, in that case too, I mean, a lot of it, depends on how well the product was designed when it came out.
Sure.
Hopefully, I mean, with the M1 MacBook, hopefully we can get 7 years out of it. Whereas the Intel MacBook, I would be, in 7 years it will be functionally obsolete, if not earlier. Um, but honestly, I feel like I'm talking way too much about an Intel MacBook
I
that
know.
quite literally, again, if you have a 2019 MacBook, you know, go ahead and upgrade. You can get an M1 MacBook Pro for $350 now. They're really quite inexpensive, and your life will be infinitely better
Yeah.
for that.
I know. Well, and it's interesting. I mean, we've got Mac OS Tahoe. I mean, with lots of improvements, and I mean, hey, I think these Intel computers. It's a big upgrade, as you said. It really is, and I think performance wise, yeah, it just makes sense going into this AI era, especially. So, time to upgrade. So, in other news, we have to talk about this AI Amazon stuff. So,
Yeah.
Amazon's been in the news a little bit lately, especially today, actually, because it's already here in terms of AI replacing people's jobs, and Amazon CEO today, he's out. He's saying that AI is already reducing their workforce needs because they can automate and use AI where previously they had employees. So it's kind of a little sad that this is already happening and it's just 2025. So this seems to me personally like a foreshadowing of more to come in this department uh, for many other companies. Not only not hiring people, like so that's also a problem. Not needing to hire as many people, but you're also firing people who already have jobs. So it's a little sad. But this was in the Wall Street Journal today, and even though Amazon's not expecting to have mass layoffs like it did in 2022 and 2023, this is still large news because AI is all the rage these days, and people initially said this wouldn't happen or this wouldn't happen for many, 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 many years. However, we already see them cutting their workforce because simply certain AI models are able to replace their employees. So it's a little concerning when you think about it because Other companies are probably going to follow suit, and then AI is dramatically improving every month. I mean, there was a new Gemini update today. We could be discussing that more further as well. There's always new models worth here talking about. And I think it's, whether it's robotics or it's just a matter of time, before even more people are replaced. So yeah, from that perspective, Sam, like where do we go from here?
Well, and when we were talking about this earlier, something I said was, remember when this all started and people said that we were being a little bit frantic for saying that this would replace all of our jobs. And then it just so happens that's kind of what's going to happen. And I think, you know, I don't know why anyone would necessarily be surprised. I think a lot of it kind of had to deal with the confirmation bias, is like nobody wants to believe that they'll be replaced. It's kind of been a sober reality checkpoint for me personally, because in cybersecurity, honestly, a lot of cybersecurity, checking and verifying configurations and implementing, essentially a large portion of it will be automated at some point. And, that being said, it's sort of, we just finished learning how to code, and now we need to, essentially learn how to, have some sort of saleable manual skill, which will be more difficult to automate, but not necessarily impossible to automate in our lifetimes. So, learn to code kind of became learn to plumb, and even that's no guarantee. Um, and also not maybe not feasible long term as a career, just because manual labor is hard on your body, and as your health is an asset, and as that decays, then you may not be able to be a plumber for the rest of your life. So there is that aspect of it too. At this point, I'm just trying to remain nimble and flexible, learn as much as I can, and keep my mind open in the best way possible. Talking weekly about recent tech is a way we do that. But
Mhm.
again, it's we're saying the quiet part out loud. As we roll out AI, it should change the way our work is done. We expect that this will
Mhm.
reduce our total corporate workforce. So there you have it.
Well, it's also worth noting, obviously, it's not only Amazon. We see Bank of America also uh, believing that over time they're going to employ fewer people as AI is affecting, how banks are processing information and things. And we also see even Williams Sonoma CEO telling investors that uh, they're keeping their numbers lean. They're not looking to hire and hire and hire because AI tools are really driving productivity. We see Shopify as well, AI helping them meet their goals. And, a recent World Economic Forum survey found this is crazy. 41% of employers said they would downsize their workforce due to AI. So the next year or two is definitely looking a little bleak here. We also see International Business Machines chief executive saying they're already using AI to replace a couple hundred human resource workers. So huge, huge companies are now utilizing systems to have less actual humans working there. And we see Meta doing just the same. We see Microsoft as well laying off 6,000 employees, which is 3% of its workforce. So yeah, this is definitely a theme that we keep revisiting. Kind of a sad one ahead as we look towards technology improving our lives, but also truly new grads having a harder time. Coding is not really a thing. Entry level coding jobs are going away. We now see phone call centers, outbound calling technology with these voice agents and more. So it's really not looking great. This seems like it's a theme ahead. You know.
Well, and to kind of zoom out, 41% of employers, so 4 out of 10, said they would downsize their workforce due to AI, according to a recent World Economic Forum survey.
Yep.
And I think the other 4 out of 10 are
I mean, that's
lying, and
crazy when you think about what
the other two can't. So it's and yeah, I mean, just thinking about that question and the bias, it's like I think 41% is probably an underreported value, just because those same businesses would not want to instill mass hysteria into the people who would read the survey.
Yeah.
But again, something we'll have to keep a look at. It's and again, a lot of this is sort of still being framed as a tool to speed the rate of innovation, um which I think is perhaps a thinly veiled attempt to, I mean, it's more output for less capital is really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
um you know the thing is, like, I don't know who asked for it, but you're getting faster innovation. Is your life getting better? Who cares? We're innovating faster. That's what we need right now, is fast innovation.
Well,
And
it's at the expense of real jobs and real people's livelihood. And eventually, it has to be said, the economy. I mean, you can't just keep this propped up by investors and just large business. I mean, they need to employ people to go out and spend the money in the economy. So where are we going from here? I mean, as AI just takes over, it's I know there have been universal basic income, arguments thrown out, but I mean, look, I mean, AI is not a human. It's a software automating processes for businesses to, yeah, you're right, optimize productivity and get more for their money, get more work for their money around the clock. And this is the technology that's truly revolutionizing every industry. So it's just we're already seeing layoffs. So like in the creative industry, we've talked before, last week a little bit with intellectual property, Google VO3. Didn't hear that episode, go back, listen to it. Great guests on our show last week. So I think that's interesting because tools in the creative industry help creatives do their jobs better, not necessarily always replace them. And I don't think they're going away, but I think these entry level coding jobs and paralegals, and I mean, there's a lot of little areas where now they don't need the same level of personnel that they had before. So yeah, it's quite interesting seeing where this is going.
well, and I always hate to say it, but we'll have to wait and see what happens with because it's not, this won't be any there won't be any large singular event. I mean, I think as people, we're wired to there'll be no one moment at which people are no longer employed. It's going to trickle. There's going to be a little bit here, a little bit there. First it's the phone agents, and then it's the HR specialist, and then it's the software developer, and then it's the manager. I mean, honestly, it's like, there's no, you know, the people that have power will be the last to go, but you know, they're also some of the most handsomely compensated individuals in a corporate structure. And we want to reduce our staffing costs, and middle management It's like, the mythical middle management.
Yeah.
Um, and who's to say like AI can't be a project manager, at a certain point, assigning and delegating and checking on the progress of tasks and motivating employees. I mean, there is an intangible part of being a good manager. And I can't pretend to know that. I'm not a good one at this point, but it's something that, ultimately, I mean, if anything, going back to our conversation last week, and a personality trait AI exhibits more so than any human is patience, as Aaron said. And that stuck out to me because, are we really at the point where, you know, our, coworkers, the public, or friends can't expect it to be patient? Where we're surprised that AI is, and that's why that stuck out to me. And like, part of, being a manager is being patient but firm, having strong expectations but acknowledging the humanity in people. And if AI can do that, specific aspect of the job, you know, it's coming. It's coming.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a little scary when you think what's coming. Yeah, what's going to be happening? How is this evolving? And progress forward. Even what we talked about before last week was there's always going to be human jobs that just shift to now building the next thing, but that requires a lot of i- intentional changes. And I think telling people you're gonna need to go back to school and you're gonna need to study something else uh to educate yourself and constantly improve your skills. That way you're relevant in this AI workforce era, right? Where, and actually it's probably not an era, it's probably just the future, where we do have everyone's got a robot, an AI robot cleaning their house and doing chores for them. And what do they pay? Do they pay a monthly fee? Do they buy it up front? And so I think we see this becoming more of a problem, but also it gives us our freedom. So like it's strange, if everybody tomorrow was not driving anymore because Waymos and self-driving technology just took over everything. You'd have a lot. Would we have more productivity because people now don't spend their time driving? They would still spend their time being transported, but I think it's like, what is that time cost barrier? I guess if you could say it like that. What are your thoughts on that? Like, because we see this happening in the workforce. So like Aaron said it so well last week, I think, with who's going to be, are they going to be entrepreneurs? Are they going to hire the rest of the people, or what's going to be happening? So anyway, kind of scary, but yeah, this right along the same themes as what we were discussing. So we're here. I mean, the Amazon news today, just one of many to come. And we'll keep following this as we go, as tech gets better and better.
Well, and kind of on that note, we actually have a pretty interesting piece of news. Our very dear friend, Mark Zuck, the good Zuck, is attempting to poach. So, on one hand, right, we have, you know, the average person struggling. And on the other hand, we have Mark Zuckerberg trying to poach AI scientists from OpenAI, with alleged 9-figure offers. So we're talking, $100 million to join Meta's new super intelligence team. So uh, this again kind of shows you how much they're willing to pay because, again, nothing in business happens in a vacuum. Why are we
Yeah.
paying one guy a compensation package of over $100 million? Is that because you think you're lighting your money on fire? Maybe, but maybe you think it's worth it. And how would that be worth it?
Yeah.
So again, uh, it's something to think about because if you're offering the top scientists $100 million, of compensation in some form to come work for you, um, it's the assumption is that you will see a return on your investment. And that's, aside from all of, the investment that Meta has made in Scale AI, $14.3 billion for a minority stake, valuing the company at $29 billion. And this was earlier,
Yeah.
uh, just a week ago, really.
Earlier in the month. Yeah. Yeah.
So, we got billions of dollars pumped into Scale AI. We got Mark Zuckerberg trying to, cheat, trying to, not cheat, but, just sort of
Poach these. Yeah.
forward,
Yeah.
poach a little bit of talent, not cheating, but poaching is the right
Yeah.
term. Um, and at the end of the day, it's pretty. I think it's a little unsettling, right? Just because again, um, you really don't spend money in business unless you think there's a valid return on your investment for the most part, right? But the thing is, it's like, if enough people keep trying, one of them may indeed hit the jackpot, I guess. So they say. Um,
Yeah. Well, also it's fascinating too because yeah, Sam Altman said on the show this week, right? Nobody's taken up the offer so far, and he's happy about that. But also, I hate to say, like it's only maybe a matter of time before someone takes. That's a lot, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think yeah, Meta definitely wants to be at the forefront of the next frontier. So to be willing to pay that much, I think they feel like. I mean, I don't know. It's definitely validating. I could imagine if you're one of the researchers with an offer like that. But wow, like that's crazy. I mean, what does that say too about other companies? I mean, they're not the only one. We've got Anthropic. We've got like other companies doing things. I mean, OpenAI, like yeah, with the first mover advantage, like it's fascinating too because they're going for artificial general intelligence, and I think it's interesting because Meta has a different reach. They don't come from that, but they have. I don't want to say more of an impact. Everyone knows what ChatGPT is, but uh, again, integrating it in a way that it will impact more people. Meta's products are already used by people. And don't forget, this week, they're also going to be putting ads in WhatsApp. So that's kind of new. They need to start paying for their these AI investments somehow. So, if you're a WhatsApp user, you're going to be targeted. You're going to have ads now. So, welcome to the club of Gmail, of Instagram, of just targeted advertising because they need to make money and they know that that's where their customers are. So, but at the end of the day, Meta's really just an advertising company. they've got tech, but they're trying a little too hard, you know? They
Well,
take your data and they sell it to advertisers. That's what they do. Sure, they've got smart glasses, and sure, they've got this and that, and some models and llama, and they're dabbling here and there. But really, like, what they do is advertising tech on their social media platforms. Now, of course, including WhatsApp. So again, like, this is it always happens like this with corporate networks. Okay. Like, the incentive is just too strong for them to say no. And they're leaving money on the table when they're making investments like this, and $100 million signing bonuses to their to try to poach researchers from OpenAI, which again, it's telling also to me. Does it tell you anything that they didn't take? Nobody took that offer? Like, what?
I mean,
Like,
again, it's very sensitive, right? I mean, the thing is, like, you probably wouldn't, um, I mean, would you go ahead and admit it, even if they did? I mean, honestly, like, and
would you
I
admit?
uh,
Yeah.
as the CEO of your company, you're not going to be like, yeah, Meta's been poaching all of our guys. Number one, bad look. Number two, there's a very real possibility they believe in the mission and they believe in what OpenAI is doing. Because at a certain point, when you're at the bleeding edge, your work is extremely mission oriented in a way. You're not necessarily doing, um, you're not, going to work to collect a paycheck in a sense. Um, you're going to work because you believe in the mission. There's kind of a higher power at work. So I don't, it's quite possible that nobody took the deal, but I would say that at least in this case, Sam would not admit and say, "Yeah, we had a few guys poached from Meta. Mark offered them a ton of money." It's like
Yeah.
it's so the thing is like I'll trust it when I see it. I mean, the thing is like you can't really trust everybody's an unreliable narrator at this point, right? There's no single, source that we can trust, right? So I think
True.
in that case,
That's true.
we'll just have to, not just figure it out, but you know, we'll have to again wait and see. I feel like I say this a lot. We'll have to wait and see, but I think a common theme of techno is we're kind of at the precipice of a lot of change. Um, at least in I mean, I feel like in recent history, right? There's been nothing like this. Um, so
Oh,
I don't, I don't know. I mean, it's like it's tough to
yeah.
say, right? Um,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think there's a lot going on here. There's a lot to unpackage, like we always do. I think it's also fascinating. I think it's worth mentioning the shift as well. I know we weren't planning on talking about this, but I think it's worth mentioning that other social networks are really gaining traction. So, I just saw on the news here about Blue Sky, and it really strikes me that when you pay attention, if you go out to, TED Talks, screening events, if you start connecting with the next frontier, I know that sounds silly, but I have a feeling if I've noticed that a lot more people are pushing their blue sky. And I think it's great. I think we're to the point where, you know, X, Elon, I don't know, not doing it too hot. And I think we're kind of looking for that next. Again, this is not AI related, but I think in pushing that boundary, okay, like I really feel like Blue Sky is on to something with their their approach to social networking. And of course, I don't think many people were happy about the Musk takeover. Okay. And so I feel like a lot of people want a more open platform. So if you start reading, in Wired, in the Atlantic, there's a lot of coverage about what Blue Sky's been up to. And I think it's interesting because we need to work on here on the show more about unpackaging, which we'll have to do another time. But the protocol level technology that enables something like a Blue Sky to thrive. There are others that are itching for that attention, but it's interesting because the more you learn from the server level, they're using the AT atmosphere protocol, which is essentially a rule book allowing servers to communicate with each other. And I guess at the end of the day, it's not only about influence and again trying to avoid a potential billionaire taking over the but I think that we want a good social network is also not manipulated to the degree we've seen Musk and X and Elon, or excuse me, yeah, and Zuckerberg and Instagram. I think we've kind of allowed these tech oligarch types to manipulate the attention of everybody that uses the platform. So I think when you start digging into Blue Sky's approach to kind of from the ground up building this new system, I mean, they've already surpassed 25 million users. They're at about 35 million users today, and they're they're hiring, little by little, and they're hoping to bring new features and verification and other communication features to kind of uh, bring a little bit of Reddit, a little bit of Twitter, a little bit of truth. Where, for example, the science feed is run by real scientists, moderated again in a way that maybe a Reddit would be, but also in a way that allows the regular users to comment and ask questions. So it's fascinating to see their approach and seeing how they can monitor all these feeds and tags and stuff in the Blue Sky uh, on their protocol. And I don't know if it's worth digging into that a little bit more. If anybody hears the soundbite on YouTube or our X account, you know, we could talk more about it. But
Not
yeah,
to
I don't know if that
um, it's
does that
almost sounds.
fascinate people.
I mean, I
Can you
guess
hear me?
from the I'm curious as to how the or I guess how Blue Sky will differentiate itself in a way from the existing um
So do
existing.
you know RSS feeds?
Yeah,
RSS.
they were the old internet. It's like where people used to it's where they used to get their news. You'd subscribe to an RSS feed, and I guess you'd basically
Well,
be able to subscribe to
absolutely.
channels, much like
Yeah.
you would like a YouTube channel, I guess, but text based. I guess like
Well, I think it's
subscribe
also in
in a way.
yeah. Yeah, well, so the Blue Sky protocol, from to my knowledge, it's an authenticated transfer protocol, which of course is a decentralized blockchain that allows users to manage their data and have multiple apps allowed to build on the same protocol. So, uh, for example, there is an Instagram-like Blue Sky alternative built on top of this protocol. It's called Flashes, and that's just one example of a new platform building on top of this decentralized system that promotes interoperability between platforms, allowing users to own their data and not allowing one centralized entity the full ability, again, like Instagram and like X, to control all your user data and functionality. So, in contrast, take Instagram and X. They're fixed algorithmic feeds, limited customization. They decide the moderation decisions, and the decisions about the user experiences are platform controlled. Where theoretically, the Blue Sky protocol can maybe even have a voting system down the road. I mean, again, this is kind of the next level of where things are going. And whether you agree or you disagree about this, and could this be the next social media? I think people are fed up by even just the degree of which the TikTok or the Instagram or these algorithms we and content creators, not even us really, just we as people, you're relying on their updates for your livelihood. I mean, being a creator and then just, again, this is why a lot of creators, build email lists and sell products directly, because they don't want, when they build an audience and then, Meta changes some little tweak, and then up now nobody get now the views are like half what they were getting before, 10% of what they were getting before. It's really uh I think people are over it. I really think people are over it. People just don't know about the alternatives, and I still think that the Blue Sky is a little different. And you don't have to know the protocol level to understand. And again, it looks just like the old Twitter, very similar to that. And
Oh my
but
god,
I
another
think,
protocol, the Blue Sky.
yeah, I mean, it's the
Uh,
authenticated transfer protocol. Yeah. But
as
again,
long
at the end
as
of the
long as
day,
it delivers a better, experience to the user. It's just sort of like, and I guess ultimately, I guess it does. I guess the debate's still out about that. I mean, like it's
yeah.
cool they have this new
I,
protocol. I mean, it's just sort of like, but if the user doesn't like the experience, or they're
I,
not,
I I think they will like the experience.
I mean, I really do appreciate what they're doing. I guess I'm just, I'm always a little, it's like, let's just say we've seen this a lot in tech, where it's like we have a new protocol and it's going to revolutionize everything. It's XKCD has a comic on this about standards. So it's like,
Yeah.
let me find this comic because it's funny. I promise.
So
Um,
again, this is the app. Again, I don't think Flashes is necessarily intended to be the complete ripoff here. However, when you think about it, it's because Elon Musk acquired X, old Twitter users are really, frustrated that there's not an alternative to them. So yeah, this is the Blue Sky alternative. I'll cover this. Back in January. So again, not brand new, but worth exploring and worth staying updated on this new level stuff, I think. But you're right. So this is okay, nice. I like it.
It's relatively a famous one, but I mean, I understand what they're doing. I mean, the thing is, current standards are debatably broken in some way. But it's like, again, we've talked about this before. There's too many apps. It's like it's hard to get people to download a new app. So, but now it's like there's another social, not to be specifically, anti Blue Sky. I've seen the rigmarole many times before, and we'll have to
I
see
do
how it
think
plays
this is
out.
different though. I think this is different because we haven't seen in tech, I don't think we've seen this level of open ecosystem before since people are a little more comfortable with blockchain and an open ecosystem. So again, Blue Sky's fundamental architecture really not a platform. It's more of a protocol that developers and it's not controlled by one organization. The authenticated transfer protocol is simply just a way for social media content to be put up there for the different clients to pull that information from. So, and they can theoretically develop their own algorithms. But then again, I don't know, like at least the user has a little bit more say in the ownership because it's their wallet, it's their user data. Okay. So if you don't own your user data, there's a problem. So, I mean, at least I hope that people can understand that. That's a problem. Look, Instagram's addicting. Okay. Everyone knows it. X is addicting. These have been traditional platforms. It's hard to get away from these gateway drugs, right? But I think there are new platforms challenging what people can expect from a social media network, and it's worth covering it. So yeah, we'll have to see if we can get some social media people coming on in a future episode. So stay tuned, Tech Talk Live fans. Thank you for supporting the show. We're here every Tuesday. Hopefully, we covered lots of news today that you didn't know.
I think so. Yeah, we had a good mix today, and kept it off of Apple because they get enough coverage.
They do. Yes, the big boys, big
But we're
players,
wrapping things
and
up.
also yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, I went straight to the outro. Last thought.
No, that's it. That's it. Wrapping it up. But yeah, great show today. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Don't forget to visit us on our website, techtalklive.xyz, and anywhere you get your podcast. Follow us on X. We'll be on Blue Sky maybe after the show today. But yeah.
Are we going to sign up for Blue Sky after this?
I think so. It's about time, maybe, with the news
The thing
and
is,
just
like, I'm
everything.
just thinking about managing a social, another social platform. So maybe will you manage the Blue Sky? And I can.
That's the struggle. Yeah, I got it. At this point, it's like we're like little. We've got all the little hands and fingers in every little platform. It's that's
we have to be on every little algorithm, every little tweak to every little algorithm. We're a spider web of algorithms.
Exactly. Well, anyway, awesome. We're here every Tuesday, same time, same place. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next Tuesday.